welcome to another edition of Google is Evil, formerly What the Fuck and such. Yeah, anyway, video. So I think I title it something like It's a Luniverse, because, yeah, it's just, forget it. I mean, there's just no hope. I hate to say there's no hope, because I really don't believe there's no hope, but it just sometimes, it just looks like it's so distant. You know, it's just, but yeah, this is just a bad trend, okay? You know, it'll perk back up again. Intelligence will become, you know, logic, you know, reasoning. These things will be respected again in the universe, maybe, hopefully. Anyway, probably inevitably. Probably. But anyway, so this isn't all for naught. But anyway, yeah, so, you know, there's this terrible problem. The, you know, idiocracy is here. There's just a bunch of morons, right? All these sloppy people having sloppy families, the undereducated, you know, the world's just full of way underqualified human beings. They're just not capable of being citizens and functional and all that kind of shit. And there's a ton of morons. Just everywhere you look, morons all over the fucking place. And the people who are smart, the bad news is the little percentage that have some capacity to think have been persuaded by quantum crapola and other nonsense and nihilism and whatever, and they're off in all these tangents and these idiotic directions, and, you know, it's just more too silly. The whole Tesla kind of fads, you know, admiring the rich and, you know, all kinds of yuck, that smart people are falling for. So it is just very dismal, and you just say, yeah, there's these people that are very smart, very collected, lots of information, lots of knowledge in their base, lots of files they can go to, grab information, and they haven't done anything useful with it because they've missed the most important thing, the most important fact of our existence. The fact that we feel, and that we all do it, and that it's a value event, and that you can't say you're winning if you're creating losers. You know, that's illogical, and they can't get, you know, the smart people can't figure that shit out. It's just so fucking pitiful. So anyway, it's just very disquieting when you think that knowledge is all you need. You know, because the logic is sort of built in. You know, the capacity to put facts together correctly is just what our brain does. I mean, it knows how to put a puzzle together. You know, it knows doing it wrong, using a hammer, is breaking the rules. I mean, it's not that complicated. And when you see good brains go bad, it's just, what the hell? I mean, you know, they do something as stupid as the idiot, you know, and you're just like, what the fuck? How did they add 2 + 2 and get 7? I mean, how did they do that? So anyway, that's what I'm sort of marveling at in this video. It's a mystic video, of course, because, you know, I don't know what to say. Again, it's good robot gone bad, and you're just like, how could a robot that can so efficiently vacuum the room, meticulously put up the blinds, everything is where it's supposed to be, everything's working just fine, and for some dumb reason it's stomping on frogs, and you're just like, what the fuck is it doing that for? Why the fuck is it doing that? It's so goddamn stupid. In this case, he's talking shit about the value question, talking shit about something so obvious as the manifestation of our brain function being the sensations, the capacity to feel. That this is the big idea, so to speak. This is the big thing happening. You know, the event that makes it worth paying attention to what's happening here on Earth. And you don't get it, which just how does he miss it? How the fuck did he miss it? Anyway, how does he evade it and still be able to do his other processing functions? So anyway, so we'll play some of this and go through it. But I mean, this is the anti-nihilism kind of argument. It's just I've been here and done this, and I can't understand how anybody with a brain sitting here on Earth experiencing feelings can't understand the simple idea that they value their feelings. They don't want to be tortured for good reasons, and those reasons apply to all the other feeling things. That the feeling is a feeling. It doesn't matter who's doing it. I could give my whole personality to the scissors. All right, I could cut my brain off and give it to the scissors. It's still my brain, okay? That's still the only part that matters. It's my brain. It doesn't matter scissors. Who cares? Who cares what's doing it? The fact that it's doing it is all that matters. So if you can find something doing the feeling thing, it matters what happens to the feeling thing. Shit. And how people can't get that. It's just such an ABC block kind of idea. It's just so obvious. If my feelings are important when I'm doing them, well, they must be important when other things are doing them. Fuck. Is that complicated? No. No, not complicated. Alright, so anyway, let's play some of this crap. Alright, go forward a little bit. Oh. Wrong is, except I guess he doesn't want the truth to be the truth or something. Oh yeah, why is he running away? And that's, I guess, all you can say is he's running away because the brain won't allow him to accept the circumstance. So I shouldn't have said stomping on frogs, because he doesn't actually do that. He doesn't actually do anything to hurt anything, or he doesn't invest in his philosophy of it doesn't matter. It does matter to him. He does feed his cat. He does take care of things. He wouldn't probably allow anything to be uncomfortable right in front of him without helping. So he clearly does manifest this notion of caring, but he would argue, I suppose, that that is irrational. When obviously it's the most rational thing you can do. But anyway, so I'm just arguing that he's using this rhetoric because he has to negate the meaning, the importance of the waste that's taken place on Earth. The horrible, disgusting, monstrously huge torture and wasted torture that's taken place. And he just can't accept that horror. And so he has to make it go away. And so he's using this trick of nihilism to make it go away. Make it go away because it only happens in brains, and brains aren't real things. They're just patterns, and patterns aren't real. They're made out of something else, so the pattern doesn't matter. And obviously it's like these scissors, okay? It's just a pattern, but there's no denying that because of the pattern, it can cut a piece of paper. It does things because of the pattern. The pattern works. Pencil won't do what scissors do, and pencils don't do what brains do. Alright, anyway. Feeling, I'm seeing, my lenses are focusing, it's all... just a minute. Alright, back. A little interruption. So I had time to think, and I thought of another idea regarding why the mystic talks this shit. And part of it might be because he has given up on intelligence and the idea that it can somehow fix the problem eventually. That eventually humans will become smart collectively, okay, substantially. And that they'll have controlling systems that will be smart, and that they will do the right thing, that they will concede to the fact that it is all nonsense, and you really shouldn't waste torture on nonsense. So until you can take the torture out of it, there's no point in playing, because the game is way too expensive. And so he doesn't think those conclusions can ever be drawn by the human race collectively, in terms of a majority action. And so he thinks every individual should just be an asshole because there's no alternative. So just be a selfish asshole, and at least that'll take care of you, and the rest of the world is too bad. That kind of thing. Like somehow it's in the long-term interest just to help wreck the train, because you can never correct the train, and so you might as well just wreck the train or something like that. But that would just be a lie anyway. So I'm just saying, well, why lie? I mean, why pretend you're saying one thing when you're saying another thing? You know, why don't you just overtly say, I've copped out, and I think you all should just cop out because it'll make your life easier. Don't worry unnecessarily, I guess is his argument, right? That you would be wasting your time worrying about the future because you can't do anything for them, they're doomed. And I would argue that, yeah, it might turn out that way. That's a real possibility. Remember that any worry we expend now, any energy we expend trying to help the future, you know, knitting them life preservers or something, is a waste of time. It may be true, but it may not be true. And if we believe it's true, then we won't do what we need to do to save the future. So the only way the future gets saved is we have to invest in the fact that we can win the war, kind of thing. You have to believe you're going to win the war to be able to fight the war. So that would be my argument against it. Not only is it just plainly dishonest, so why lie to people? That's kind of evil in itself. It's yuck. Don't do that. And yeah, let them make the decision. Just tell them straight out that you don't think there's any probability of us being able to save the future, so just save yourself. Just make your argument and convince people that way. Make an honest argument. And just so everybody knows that that's what you're really saying, is that you don't think there's anything to invest in because there's no hope and there's no chance and there's no possibility. You've given up on using intelligence for good. Yeah, or something like that. Well, anyway, so that does give him a little, that's a more, I mean, it's it's kind of insulting as that is, that's the better of the two alternatives. You know, in a way, the two alternative explanations. I don't see any third alternative, but who knows? Yeah. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. You can just, so our senses. The fact is, I say in the video that, we can sort of block our eyes, but you really can't, right? Because you still see things. Your brain sees even when your eye is closed. You can cover your ears, but your brain still talks even though you've covered your ears. It can still make music. It still can make stuff in your ears, so to speak. So we really can't turn off the senses, and you can't turn off the pain. You can't turn off the feelings, the goop the brain creates. So in a way, all the senses are unmuffleable. I guess muffle would be the wrong word. You can muffle, but you can't silence. And that's all we can do with our sensations, is to muffle them, attempt to, find places where they're, not as harassing.
There's a common denominator in all of these that are scientifically showed.
So he's basically just pointing out somehow, science somehow says nothing means anything, nothing happens, everything's just mattering, or energying, and that's not really what science says. So it's just kind of bullshit. Yes, everything is made out of electrons and atoms, and they're not very much matter in all of that. But it doesn't matter because they take the place of matter. The fact that they're not a solid baseball, an atom's not a solid baseball, doesn't change the fact that it behaves as if it were a solid baseball. So it doesn't matter that it's not one, because it behaves just like one. And the fact is, our brain is behaving like it is doing a something, not a nothing. And it's again, you just have to have one to know it. It's something. There's just no doubt that I'm having a something. This experience of being conscious is something. It's not nothing. Blue, green, 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 blue, blue, green, green. That's a thing in the brain. That pattern is just as real as the pattern of this cup. So yeah, so it's just pointing out that these really are distinctly different things, and you can pretend they're not, but they are distinctly different things. So when you feel bad, there's distinctly different things being triggered in the brain than when you feel good. And yes, it's just a pattern in a bowl, but the fact is the bowl does it. Okay, so whatever the bowl is, whatever your brain is, it's manifesting it, and it manifests it differently. It can't do the same thing and produce a different result. So the only thing it can do is a certain pattern is pain. And it just happens that the universe has that trick in it, that it can arrange atoms in a certain way, and those atoms just being arranged that certain way creates this thing called conscious experience, and conscious experience of pain. It's just a fact that that's a pattern. It's an arrangement, and that arrangement is intrinsically not a good arrangement. That one doesn't work very well because it makes the sensation of torture. It's a real thing. It's distinct. It's just as real as the cup. The sensation of torture is as real as the cup is. It has to be made out of brain tissue. It has to be made out of actual atoms and an arrangement. It doesn't just happen in empty space. It happens in a machine that makes it. Fact. In books, educating, we have to go to 12 years of school just to know how to, just pointing out how, geez, it is dismal, just how hard it is to be smart. I mean, how much, this is an awful lot of work you have to go through, just to get a few things right. And after 12 years of education, most of the human race isn't even civilized. I mean, they can't do the simple things. They can't, they can't understand how they, shouldn't blow their nose in your food or something. How thick is the glazing? How many radioactive elements are in the glazing? How much? Right. So I'm basically, I think, talking about just how silly all of this, taking it apart too much stuff is, and that, and the elephant in the room is the consciousness. Who cares how it's made? I mean, it's not really very important. It's not critical to the fact of what it is, and just as it's, there's probably some other way of analyzing, over analyzing, and doesn't do any. There's no function to it. All you want to know is the water drinkable. Is this, the stuff that's important, and the stuff that's important is just recognizing that brain feeling good and bad, that's important. The end, it's almost like the end. That's all you need to know. Does it feel? Can I make it feel better? There, we're all done with the important part of the question. The rest is just minor details of I know what I can do to make it worse, so I won't do that. So what can I do to make it better? Maybe I only have two. Okay, I mean, oh yeah, it's talking about personality. So, I feel like I have a lot of personalities, but maybe I really only have two, selfish, sensual, desire person, and, logical, smart, puzzle-doing person, and that's about it. So I'm either in mode A or mode B or, whatever. And every other personality I have to come up with is irritating because it's not one of those two. If I'm not doing one of those two things, lying in the sun going, or solving a mechanical thought problem, everything else is irritating because it's not being one of those two things. And those are the only two things I have an interest in being. That's the only two trains running on my tracks. And to run on some other track, the rails don't fit, and it's bumpy, and it's it's irritating. It's not me. And it's just that. It's crazy bullshit. You have to be crazy not to acknowledge the fact that, at least for your personal organism, it matters whether you feel good or bad. So I shouldn't even say, at least for your personal brain. because it should be just such a given that there's no magical difference between your brain and all the other brains that are doing all of this crap on Earth. You're not the only one who's conscious. All that would be such unrealistic nonsense that I shouldn't even have to qualify a statement. I shouldn't have to say, okay, we haven't proven that everybody else is real. I shouldn't even have to bother saying that kind of crap. You know, it's you know, but it is part of the you know, just how irritating some intelligent people have gotten in terms of, you know, breaking language entirely. And then when you hit a certain number, when you put 33 in, all of a sudden it goes. Yeah, so just pointing out how you got a brain that works, a calculator that works, and it's just one number. You put one number in and the whole thing just goes, just fuck it. It's broken. It can't work anymore. It can't come up with any right answers. Nothing is, you know, all the logic is gone. And that is surprising to witness. And such. So I think we're almost done. Yeah, there. That's the end. Yeah, okay. So we'll call that a video, and probably call this one too. So this, you know, there's not some more important subject than, you know, convincing people of their obligation to recognize that they're just playing for sensations. That's all this game is. And that they sort of have this delusion that if I can feel good for the next 10 minutes, you know, that's all that matters, when now the game isn't 10 minutes long. It's, you know, 10 years, it's 10 decades, it's, you know, it's a bigger game than that, just not only just for you, but for everything you will fuck with, and everything you do will be screwing with other people's welfare. And it's just a really messy, ugly, hard game to play. And there's very good reason to dissuade people from doing it, because of just how much collateral damage there is, and just how insanely expensive all the losing is. For the little bit of win, there's an awful lot of lose. And that's not a hard fact to recognize. And you really don't have an excuse or a justification to tell other people, losing's fun. It's worth it. I had a good time. Yeah, that's just ignorant. Yeah, really, really ignorant. Okay, so enough of a video. So till the next time, and such, and so forth and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah, that's enough. Okay. Alright, so remember, Google's evil, and life sucks, and we gotta fix it, because we are the future, frankly. The people who are gonna just all of a sudden hatch on Earth, okay, not gonna be any different than you're hatching on Earth. It's gonna feel an awful lot like the same old crapola all over again.